Well, we are actually to the end of the day today. Today did not go too well. It is Sunday. We're looking off to the west, and as you can see, the sun is starting to go down. I chopped a total of 4 loads today before I ran into some problems, which we're going to go ahead and talk about here in a minute. Andrew is going to run this dump wagon here. This is the dump wagon that we broke the axle frame out of, which Jared fixed. Then he ended up fixing the axle frame in the other one here just a few days ago. We were just getting ready to chop the 5th load, and well, this is our chopper right here, and you can hear another chopper running, which we'll talk about that one in a second here. But I had a code come up saying that we had low hydraulic oil level. So I immediately shut the chopper off, ran around to the back side of the chopper here. I opened up the right-hand panel. I looked in. I seen that this is the hydraulic oil reservoir. I seen that the hydraulic oil was okay. I said, well, that's no problem. We've just got a bad sending unit. The sending unit is, it's about here on the tank, right on the front side. You can't quite see it. So we screwed around with that and couldn't make hide or hair of what was going on. It was about 10 o'clock or so. I took a picture of the code that came up, sent it to Jake, gave him a few minutes to digest it. I called him. I said, hey, we've got a problem here. Did you see the picture I sent you? He said, no, I'm actually at the store right now, and give me a second here. He said he'd call me right back, which he did. He called me right back. He says, is your rotary screen turning? So I said, let me see what's going on. So I started the chopper up here. I checked, and the rotary screen was not turning. So he said, being that the rotary screen is not turning, maybe what you have wrong is a pressure relief valve. There's 2 pressure relief valves on top of that valve body right there. He says we would have to get a pressure reading off of the valve itself if we're not getting any pressure off of, well, this pressure port on this one side. He says you probably have a dead pump. There's a 3-stage pump right there on the back side of that main hydraulic drive right there. So I didn't have any pressure gauges or anything. He says, I'll be right over. I'll bring a pressure relief valve. And he had the proper testing ports to test that valve port there, or that pressure testing port. Tested it, sure as anything else, that middle stage part of the pump was dead. So, well, we're not going to be able to do anything with this. So he says, hold on a minute. He said, let me see what we have at our disposal. He had an 8600 chopper, and he said maybe what we could do is we could take the 3-stage pump off of it and swap it out on this one. I said that'll be a good idea. I could start working on taking this one off, and he could jog back to his shop, take this one off of this machine, and we'll put it on this one. Well, they use a different 3-stage pump on the 8600, and that wasn't going to work. So he says, well, we have a 9900. That one's different too. So what we ended up doing was we ran over and got this 8600i chopper to use. We're going to have to use this for a couple of days. We're not going to see parts for this one until Tuesday afternoon. So what this is an 8600i. It's one size smaller than our chopper. We have an 8-row head on the front, 8-row small drum. What we run is a 10-row large drum. So we have 4 large drums on this one and a small one on each side. This has the 19-liter Cummins in it. This one has, I believe it's a 13.5. I think that's what it is, John Deere. One size smaller on the tires. And we also have this extra container here for, I've heard a guy say it's window washer fluid, I think. Not quite sure what that other tank is for. But at any rate, this is the machine that we're going to be able to use for a day or two here. We're just going to go ahead and chop a couple of loads here tonight. We'll take one of the silage trucks home. The guys that were over here, they left everything here and they ran home. And the Army truck, we had 7 straight trucks, 5 tractor trailers today, and 2 guys running dump wagons and 3 guys on the bunk. Probably the largest amount of guys that we have ever had available to us on any given day, and we run into a breakdown. So what we're going to do is we're going to chop a couple of loads here tonight. I'm going to come over here in the morning and I'll have to drain the hydraulic fluid out of this reservoir tank here, and then get that valve stat or that pump 3-stage pump off of there. And then when the new one comes in, the guys from Casanova, they'll come over, they'll help us put that on there, and we will go ahead and get after it. So we better get this closed up. We have, well, we have our Green Star display from our chopper in this 8600. We also have the climate field view in there as well, so we'll be able to document everything for the most part on it. So we'll join up with you in a little while. It's probably going to be tomorrow. I do have a little bit that I want to chop here tonight, but it's probably going to be tomorrow when we join back up with you here. Well, we've got everything dialed in the way we want it here. Now, I've never really run a small drum head before, but this is a little more up close and personal. Corn looks a lot bigger coming through a small drum head, kind of like dating a girl with small hands. Everything looks a little bigger. But what we're going to do is we're going to get just one load loaded on one of these trucks. We're going to take that home, and then we'll join back up with you guys tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and work on that chopper a little bit in the morning here, and our chopper, that is. And then once we can get rolling along with the chop, and we'll join back up with you, and we'll let you know how this machine's working out. But this works really good. Everything is dialed in the way I want it. So I chopped one load already on the dump wagon. Andrew has dumped that on the automatic there. He'll dump this small load on there. That will give us a full load, and we can go ahead and get home. So I'll join up with you guys in the morning. We'll start working on that chopper. We'll work on that until the guys get over here to start driving truck. So we'll see you in the morning. Well, we are into the following day. We ended up just chopping one truckload with this 8600 here last night. We came over here this morning to work on the 8700. I planned on draining all the oil out of the hydraulic reservoir. I'm not really sure how much it holds. But we did bring quite a few empty pails over in order to drain this hydraulic reservoir. We're just about ready to pull this hydraulic pump now. I have pulled all of the lines and hoses off of it, pulled all the fittings out of it, just because it was going to be easier to do it that way rather than trying to work on it either on the side of the chopper or the back of a truck to get them fittings out. All I did was I just tied suction lines, feeder lines. I just tied them up out of the way, and so far that is working. This tank is a pain in the ass to fill. With it like that, you either have to have a really long funnel or you have to use a pump on a 5-gallon pail. So all there is 2 studs that hold this pump in there. I've got one more to take out, and then we'll be able to pull that pump off of there, and then hopefully we get a couple of trucks here and we can start chopping. I've taken everything off the fittings and I've laid them out so that one of the guys from Kaz can put this back together if it ends up going that way. But in other words, I've taken this apart so anybody can put it back together. It's pretty well self-explanatory. Anyways, here, so we've just got, oh, it sounds like there's a truck here. We've got just one stud to pull out here. I thought I could get that a little easier. Where are we here? Here we go. I feel this damn thing gonna drop on me. It's alright. Setting right there. That stud. Alright. So, that's all that guy is right there. So what there is 3 individual pumps all stacked together here. We'll set that there, and we can kind of just leave it alone here. Oh, that might continue to drain here. We probably better stuff something in there just to keep that from draining out. So that should do her until we get a new pump here tomorrow. Well, everything is going along very nicely here. Now what you will notice with this small drum head, you can see the cord is a lot closer to us just because of the smaller diameter drum. It's actually cutting it closer to the chopper itself. The large drum, it's out there so much farther. There is so many arguments going back and forth on silage cutter pages on Facebook where guys will argue that the small drum is better than the large drum and vice versa. I don't really have a preference one way or the other. I don't see any issues between either one. The opinion I have is they both work good. You got to have good knives on both of them, and you got to have your proper cleaners in place in order for both heads to work. So we're cutting a path down through the middle here, and we've got, oh, let's see, we just loaded Sarah, and Alex is back there somewhere. So we'll almost get to the end here, and then we'll have to switch out trucks. We're just kind of getting opened up here good. We've got the parts should be in here tomorrow morning for our chopper, and we'll probably just let Kaz come over and put that on, so that if there's any other issues with anything, they can get the parts ordered, the other parts ordered for it, and we're not going to lose a day. My thought was I could put the pump on myself the following morning after it comes in, which wouldn't be till Wednesday morning, and use the chopper Wednesday. But I think we better let them come and put it on tomorrow morning, and if it's got any other issues, then they will be able to get the problem diagnosed and get the parts ordered. Now, originally that showed that it had the hydraulic oil level was low, and that was tripping that code, and it wouldn't let me see any of the other codes in the display while that one was tripping. So we're not sure if maybe we don't have something going on with that sending unit for the hydraulic oil reservoir. Now, it could be just something that is kind of going along with one of the pumps not getting any oil or pushing out any oil, and then it would trip a code saying that it was low on oil because it wasn't receiving any oil. So we got Alex rolling in there. We didn't make it to the end, so we just switched trucks out, and we'll keep on keeping on here. So we'll join up with you a little bit towards the end of the day here, unless something else happens or we get an event that we feel that we need to a video here. So, like I said, everything is working nicely on this chopper. This chopper is the same model year as the chopper that we have. However, it has about half the amount of hours on it. So we'll join up with you a little later on. Well, Jake ended up getting our chopper going. I've got just a couple of loads left, and if you look, the fuel gauge is flashing. Now, this must have a smaller fuel tank than what the 8700 chopper has, because I never usually get down below, say, a third of a tank. I usually never get nowhere near that. But we're loading Jared right now. I've got Alex left to load, and then I'll take all my gadgets here out of this chopper. Got the iPad here, and I've got one for the field view, and then I've got the 4640 display. We'll move that over into our chopper in the morning, and that's where we will join back up with you guys. We did have some other issues with our chopper. I had a stationary knife code that had come up, and I also had the metal detector wasn't working, and Jake found some wires underneath the cutter head that were kind of torn up. So it's kind of a good thing they did come out. And there was also a what did he say, a resistor or something that was gone. So we'll join up with you tomorrow. Well, we're getting ready to start the day, and we're gonna be able to chop with our own chopper today. Jake ended up coming over here yesterday, and he put this new pump on there. If you recall earlier on in the video here, we took that one off. This is going back a couple days ago. I took that off Monday morning. The parts came in yesterday morning, and Jake came over. He put that on there, put new O-rings in all of the fittings. Everything went perfect with that. We did have another code that it said the metal detector wasn't working, and I fiddled around with this plug here. Wanted to make sure that connection was good. I screwed around with that Sunday morning, and then I went over to this other side here where the magnet plugs in on this left side feed roll. I took this all apart here yesterday, or Sunday rather. Those connections were good. I crawled underneath. There's the wiring goes across the bottom of the feed roll frame. There was some wires exposed, but it looked like everything was intact. Jake got looking into it further, and there was some broken wires in there, and there was a terminator or something that was missing. So it was a good thing that he did come over. He got that going, and we are good to go. So we're gonna be able to chop with the 8700 now. It was nice to have a machine to use. We did lose a little bit of time here Sunday, but it is what it is. You run these slightly older machines, you're gonna run into these small problems, but that is what it is. So we're gonna go ahead and get this truck parked over at the barn, get a ride over to this chopper here, and we'll get fired up and going. Well, we are getting right after it here. I'm glad to be back in the old 8700. But this field that we're in, we're right next to the thruway. The New York State Thruway is right over on the edge of the field there. Now, I'll have to show you the laneway that it takes to get back into these fields. Now, over on this particular farm that we're on, we've got a majority of the ground we had BMR silage on, and that's what this is right here. And we need to talk about some fungicides that we had applied to all of the BMR silage. But at any rate, when we were over here planting corn, I wanted to get the planters emptied out with the BMR seed that we had not only in the planter, but in the seed tender. and it acreaged out right about right to have planted these small 2 pieces of corn that are back in here. And we emptied out both planters on this field here, and then we switched over to grain corn. Now, the mistake I made was going back in here because of having to truck all this silage out of here. In the past, we have had grain corn back in here, and we would just pull it out of here with the grain buggy. So we've got Jared Phil, we've got a couple of the trucks coming back in here, but for the most part, we're grabbing it with the dump wagons and getting them out of here with that. So we're gonna have to put you down for a second. I need to cut a path here so Jared can get out through there. And then what I want to do is I want to show you this corn, the difference between fungicide and not applying fungicide. Looks like he's gonna take that anyways. He might be able to wiggle that right out through that hole there. Boy, I don't know. Come back this way. I would put him behind me here. Now it looks like, you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna come forward, and then he's going to back out. So that's the one thing about these trailers. It takes a little bit of fancy maneuvering here to get things maneuvered around. We had a tree fall on his right side there. We're actually going to go over and pull that out right now. Stay that way. He's got a limb down right over there, so we're going to hook onto that and get that out of there. And then before we do that, what I want to do is I want to show you what this corn looks like that had fungicide applied to it. You can see the corn is well, it's turned over brown here. I'm gonna fold up this head. Come on. Yeah, we'll get this folded up. So Jared, he's backed out. Now we got a dump wagon. I'll join back up with you in a second here. All right, so we're loading the dump wagon now, and every so often, the Auburn Ag that applied the fungicide, every so often, they might leave a little test strip in a field, which is a good thing to do because it just gives us an indication that the fungicide really makes a difference, especially on the BMR varieties. And what we're trying to do is get ahead of northern corn leaf blight. Now, you might say, well, this corn is too dry. Well, it's running right around 60 to 62% moisture. We probably should have got in here a couple of days ago, but we're trying to let that laneway dry out as much as it could. So this is a lot greener here, but you'll see over in the center over there, and we'll have to walk out into it, that corn is right out brown. And what had happened to that is, well, a couple of things. One, northern corn leaf blight moved into it, and two, the fungicide, when you apply the fungicide to the corn, it actually slows down the maturing of the corn because it actually makes it healthy, and it grows a little more vigorously, and it'll hold on to the silage corn anyways. It'll hold on to its moisture for a little while longer, which guys that are in the grain business, they want their corn when it's matured to dry down. But being that we want to take this corn for silage, in order for it to ensilage properly in the bunk, you need to have the moisture to go along with it. Now, I had come into some corn here that had the northern corn leaf blight, and the moisture varied by about 10 percentage points from what had it and what didn't have it. So it does pay to have the fungicide applied. Now, you might say, well, why are they putting a test strip in every single field? Well, they're not really putting one in every single field, but being that they have to drive into the corn with their sprayer, what they're trying to do is minimize the amount of corn that they have to drive through, because occasionally the sprayer will walk on some of the corn, especially the corn that was planted with the 6-row planter. The guess row is not as great or done as good as the 16-row, and with the row shutoffs and everything. Not so much the row shutoffs, I shouldn't say that. In the short rows, you're driving on the headland more, and you're tracking down more corn sometimes than it's worth on these smaller fields. So we've got this dump wagon just about loaded. We're gonna jaw jack here for a little bit of a minute, then we're gonna walk over into this corn that has the northern corn leaf blight here. So we're gonna go ahead and get out. We've got green corn here, and then you can see a spot where they maybe should have made another 2 passes, but being that this field is so short, again, they didn't want to walk on too much corn. So we'll walk over into this corn that has been affected by the northern corn leaf blight. We'll get over here as quick as we can. And you can see a difference. We've got green in the leaves here, and then once we get over into this corn, this is all brown. This is dead. And the other thing you'll see is it'll leave the chopper black once you get into this. So this corn is shut down. It is not growing anymore. However, this corn here, and you can hear Jared out on the road, so he made it. This corn's got a lot of green in it. Now the BMR varieties will brown up a little more than the conventional silage, and it'll hold on to its moisture a little while longer than the conventional corn. So it's a little deceiving looking when you get into the BMR corn, because it might look like it's gone past the moisture that it should be at for taking it for silage. So that is gonna do it for this video. We'll just make sure we don't have any hydraulic oil leaks here. We should not have, but everything is working the way it should. Our oil level is up and everything is dry in there. Now you're gonna say, oh boy, this thing is really dirty. Well, that's what happens when you get into the corn. So, and here is what the blighted corn looks like, and it is right around 50% moisture, so it's a good 10-12 points drier than the corn that had the fungicide applied to it that's alongside it here. So we've got just a little bit left. We'll show you that laneway once we pull out of here, and then that'll about do it for this video here. Now we're into the green stuff. Well, I forgot to turn the camera on in time when I started coming out through this laneway. But this is the laneway that gets us back into these two fields that are over in by the throughway. And Nate's just coming out through in behind us here. This is maybe, I don't know, 200 yards long through here. It's got a hard base, but you got to make sure that you stay on the hard ground. So we've got grain corn to either side of this laneway here, and then of course the road is just up a ways here. But Jared came back in here. He got 2 loads. The straight trucks all came in, and then the dump wagons pulled everything out for the other 3 trailers that we're using here. So that is gonna do it for this video. I want to thank everybody for watching, and we will catch you at the next video. Got a nice approach to the road here. A little hairy with the trailer, but Jared made it out of here anyways. And they're dumping down there in that other field.